past meeting present and me finding my future in those two. As I sit here in my room after the 5-hour car ride home from my Tulane trip, I'm realizing just how much Tulane meant not only to me, but my parents. Since I could remember, my parents told fairy tale-like stories about how they met and fell in love right next to Tulane University. Their first interaction at the New Orleans Lawn Tennis Club where they both worked. Their first date outside the St. Louis Cathedral eating beignets. Their first kiss in a streetcar in front of campus. Their first apartment just 2 blocks from Tulane's doorstep. Boudreaux, my childhood dog that my dad got in New Orleans to propose to my mom with. Their Mardi Gras-themed wedding. All these stories made me, from a young age, fall in love with the Big Easy just as they had done years before. The drive to New Orleans from Kingwood was not as bad as I thought, though my dad hated me when we reached Baton Rouge. The second the entering city limits sign popped up, I blared Callin' Baton Rouge on repeat until we left the city. We laugh about it now, but looking back on the last 3 days, that was the silliest start to one of the most influential trips of my life. As we pulled up to our hotel on St. Charles Avenue, I noticed that it was not just I who was in awe of the scenery of the area. My dad was beaming and pointing out all the spots him and my mom used to go. It was like watching a kid opening presents on Christmas morning. After getting settled in, we immediately left our hotel to walk around the city and find something to eat. We ended up in the French Quarter at Landry's right in front of St. Louis Cathedral. That crawfish etouffee on Italian bread, I had dreams about it afterward. Not an hour home and my dad has already recreated it, and quite well, might I add. I'm currently consuming it while writing this. After finishing eating what I can arguably say was definitely the best meal of my life, we went outside and walked the sidewalk on the edge of the Mississippi. My dad placed his hand on my shoulder and pointed across the river to Algiers. There, he said, is where your mom used to live, in a small little house with 3 other people and only 2 bedrooms. I looked in his face and saw the smallest hint of a tear. What you need to know is David Kelly is not a crier. The only other time I saw him cry was the day he had to put Boudreaux down. We sat at the river's edge as a streetcar came by, and then a singular tear fell down his cheek. This is where your mom and I sat on the end of our first date. Right here. This spot was the moment I realized I was in love with your mom. That full circle moment made me realize that if it were not for this city, I wouldn't be here. If it were not for this spot 25 years ago, I would not be here. That full circle moment made the city feel like a place I really needed to be. We grabbed ice cream from a cute little shop next to Landry's and walked the quarter more before calling it a night. A life-changing night at that. 7 a.m. the next morning, I wake up to my alarm. I got dressed and ready for the exciting day ahead as we toured Tulane University. From the moment I stepped on campus, my dad could see it in my face and eyes. This place was home. As we walked the auditorium, I began to tear up because in that moment, I made the connection. My parents fell in love here in this city and worked so hard for me to get to where I am today. Tulane is where I feel I belong. It is where I want to make the same memories and fall in love not just with people, but the culture in New Orleans itself, just like my parents did 25 years ago. Tulane is the university I want to make fairy tale-like stories at and be able to tell my children about while feeding them crawfish etouffee. Yes, the academics are amazing, and may I say, the neuroscience labs are beautiful, but it's so much more than an education for me. It's a lifetime worth of stories, just like the ones my parents have with Tulane in the city from 25 years ago.